For those of us who've joined us in Napa before, you know the Beta SMB Institute Leaders Forum is special. It's a special location, a special venue, and best of all, special people. We pride ourselves on curating an A-list of attendees, the best and brightest leaders of our $500 billion plus business to small business marketplace. And every day we are adding speakers, workshops, and special events to this intimate forum, all of it highlighting the shared challenges and opportunities in a setting that drives casual and candid exchange. Join us at the 2022 Beta SMB Institute Leaders Forum, May 11th and 12th in Napa, California. Tickets are on sale now at betasmbi.com/leadersforum22. Good morning, everybody. This is Dave Walker again, and I'm really delighted to host this particular panel because I think that, since the beginning in October 2017 of the Institute, both Peter and I felt that partnerships was one of the key value propositions of what the Institute was trying to do, to create a network and a community of brands that did the toughest job on planet Earth, which is sell to small businesses, and create degrees of cooperative understanding, sharing of insights, trading of resources, all these different things. And over the course of the last 4 years, wow, have partnerships become more prevalent, frankly, more successful, lots of great case studies and examples of partnerships. And this is actually the first time that I have been able to assemble, see how much things have changed, to really have a group of practitioners who actually have the word partnerships in their job title, who are actually dedicated in their organization to doing business development, partnership development, have that word partnerships in their title. So I'm really excited to welcome this panel. I'm going to start with somebody who I've known for many years, who I have great admiration for, who is not only one of the smartest people in Beta SMB, but also one of the most fun-loving, and that's Kelly Benish. Welcome, Kelly. How are you?
Wow, I wish I could copy and paste that introduction everywhere. Thanks, Steve, for the most gracious introduction ever. I'm wonderful. Thank you. How are you?
Good. I'm terrific. Give us we'll go around and do just in our quick introductions. Tell us a little bit about you, about Uberall, and kind of what your role is.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Kelly Benish, as you mentioned. I'm VP of Global Strategic Partnerships at Uberall, which is a presence and reputation management platform. It powers about 2,000 white label partners globally. And I am very passionate about dog rescues.
Awesome. Okay. That's a good one to add to the introduction. What are you passionate about? So Bailey Pricey, welcome. Oh, you're on mute. There you go.
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for having me, Dave. I'm really excited to be a part of this panel. I am Bailey Pricey, and I'm a business development manager at Alignable, which is the largest online network for small businesses. We have over 7 million small businesses in North America, and I'm super excited to provide some value on the importance of partnerships and insights as to how we utilize partnerships to support our mission at Alignable to help small businesses. So this will be a really awesome conversation.
And personal passion?
Oh, personal passion. Fitness. I am a part-time fitness instructor, so love fitness and love working at boutique small business fitness studios. So passions go hand in hand.
Very cool. I need your help. Okay, Michelle Winnett, welcome.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Michelle Winnett. I'm VP of Partnerships and Strategic Marketing at Ruby. We offer live virtual reception and chat services to SMBs all over North America and Canada. I've been around over 18 years. I would say I'm also passionate about dogs and fitness, but I will add wine and food. I'm very passionate about that, which complements the fitness very well.
There we go. That's what I'm passionate about, wine and food. Excellent. Good to have you on the panel. And then lastly, Kate Daniels from Oracle NetSuite. Welcome, Kate.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I've been excited about this the last few days, so I'm delighted to be here with you all. I lead industry partnerships for Oracle NetSuite, and Oracle NetSuite is Well, NetSuite was the first cloud-based enterprise resource planning or ERP system. And today, of course, none of us would think of having any of our data outside of the cloud, but 25 years ago, that was kind of a new concept. And today we work with over 28,000 businesses across the world. We were acquired by Oracle about 5 years ago, which allowed us to dramatically expand and scale our impact. And I lead our relationships with industry partnerships, industry associations, trade associations, and buying groups. So really kind of driving business development from within these highly trusting, highly self-referential communities, which is a far more, I think, authentic and interesting way to generate relationships and to generate new conversations than, a cold call. And I would echo the passions of my friends here. I've got 2 dogs who I'm keeping quiet in another room. And I married a former personal trainer, so definitely fitness is up there. And to food and wine, I had COVID last month and I lost my sense of taste for a week. And it went to the heart of my very identity. I thought, if I can't taste, what is the meaning of any of it? So anyway, I'm with you. But I lived in sub-Saharan Africa for 13 years. So I would say my biggest personal passion is African politics, African sort of macroeconomic strategy. And I keep very close to my friends back in South Africa.
Wow, that's terrific. Did everybody see the Kenyan ambassador to the UN, his speech yesterday?
Yes.
On the eve of the Ukraine? Just check it out on YouTube. It's incredible. It's one of the most articulate and amazingly well delivered, well pointed kind of criticisms of what's going on this day and the days ahead, I'm sure. Well, listen, from that ugly subject into really what we want to talk about here, which is partnerships. I guess I want to start, and I'll start kind of working back around the horn with Kate, with you. Tell us about basically, what you're seeing out there in the small business landscape, or how's your business? How's the business of your customers? Are you bullish? Are you cautiously optimistic? All of those questions.
Yeah, it's been a really interesting last few years for small businesses, guys. It's, I think it's been sort of make or break. I think businesses that have been able to move to the cloud, businesses that have been able to harness e-commerce and all the ways we are acquiring goods and services in the sort of COVID era have been those that have thrived and prospered, and those who haven't been able to pivot have suffered a bit. NetSuite is incredibly bullish about the small and emerging and mid-market, largely because, well, that's the bulk of our customer base, but also, there's something about the acquisition by Oracle about 5 years ago, which did this interesting thing to NetSuite, which was drive us down market. So Oracle's Fusion ERP handles, over 250 million in annual revenues, and NetSuite's sweet spot really is anything from 0 to 250 million in annual revenues. And that means we're talking to businesses, many of them pre-revenue, many in the context of private equity and venture capital investment conversations. Many who are graduating from QuickBooks and who want to figure out how best they can still leverage a cloud-based financial solution, which now integrates with inventory management and warehouse management. So, what's kind of intoxicating about what I get to do is that we get to align ourselves with businesses that are kind of on that cusp, on that growth curve. And you learn incredible things about, the entrepreneurial spirit and that which is required to drive a business in the 21st century in the context of a global pandemic. So, we're incredibly bullish about the small and mid-market. We are definitely seeing inroads, and we'll talk more about this, I'm sure, but in the context of industry associations and buying groups, there's incredible power in, not just power in the form of networking, but power in the form of negotiating and driving prices down that groups like that possess. And I found working with groups like that to be quite educational and quite endearing, because there's nothing like a community that understands its negotiating power by virtue of the whole rather than by virtue of the individual.
And particularly important in a highly fragmented marketplace that small businesses represent. Michelle, how about you?
Ruby offers small business customers something very precious, which is time back in their day. And I think the last few years have really only highlighted that and how very precious that time is. as things are starting to open back up, I think businesses are now facing some decisions about whether or not they want to permanently have some sort of virtual component, or if they want to go back and be in person, face to face with their customers. And I think those that want to be back to face in person, they want to be present, they want to be there, and Ruby is perfect for that because they don't want to be distracted by a phone or a website chat, and Ruby's there to help answer those types of distractions while representing the small business brands. Because I think that's the other key piece with time back in the day, is that really friendly, polished representation of the brand that Ruby is known for. And a lot of the segments that we've served historically, from attorneys and home services and medical service providers, they have not seen a slowdown in their business. If anything, especially with so many people being at home service industries from roofing to HVAC to plumbing have all seen an increase and continue to see an increase in demand. And it's just about making sure that they are able to take on that business and not be distracted with the phone ringing when they've got their hands underneath the sink, right? So that's the types of things that Ruby can really help those businesses with. So I would say we're definitely still continuing to see growth in this space, and a ton of opportunity. I mean, it was definitely hard for a lot of businesses over the past 2 years, but we're definitely finding that sweet spot of those that are going to be able to go forward and have Ruby be able to help them grow and thrive.
That's terrific. Bailey, Eric and your team have built this amazing network now. I think it's over 6.5 million small businesses are members of Alignable. Something like
so
that.
We're actually over 7 million members. So
wow.
An awesome accomplishment.
Gone viral.
We are a social network that has gone viral. But Dave, I loved your question about partnerships, because something that we've seen at Alignable is there are so many partnership opportunities that come into play with being able to help small businesses, and differentiating between those that are actually of importance to these business owners versus those that are not quite is so daunting, because there are so many options available. And the differing offerings and services that these partners offer, it takes a lot of time and effort to figure out which ones are the best to align with your said platform. You know, at Alignable, business owners have the opportunity to network for free. They create their profile. They can talk with like-minded and not so like-minded business owners and learn from each other on how to start and grow. And so on the platform, there's groups, there's industry type groups, topical groups, there's messaging, one-to-one video chat, events, and so much education that goes into it. So when it comes to finding those partners that we can embed into our value proposition is so key. And finding the right solutions as a small business owner, I think it's just critical to top of funnel, do all your research, figure out what it's important for business owners to spend their time and allocate their funds on. You know, small business owners, they have a certain number of dollars they can spend per year. And how can we simplify what solutions they should be spending on? So one thing we're working on heavily is our solutions marketplace. And it's underway where we're essentially simplifying this process and asking business owners a slew of questions to their most pressing business challenges, and oversimplifying the solutions to their answers. And, you know, in conclusion, I just really think the right products and services are out there, but it's just a matter of figuring out what they are, explaining how they can improve business owners' ROI, and getting it right by networking with peers, finding resources that can help you make informed decisions, and helping business owners understand what they need. And partnerships is such a huge part of that. So to kick off the conversation, I guess that would be my answer.
Awesome. Now prepare to be impressed, because Kelly, I want you to tell us how many small businesses are actually represented or served in those 2,500 white label providers of your platform and solution.
I'm so glad you teed that off, actually. So we have about 2 million businesses globally represented through those platform providers. And I love that we're talking about partnerships. It's something I'm just so passionate about. And so many people don't really understand the critical nature of really being able to scale these solutions in a micro way at a global level. And so we see trends being established, and the last 2 years have been critical for that, right? And understanding what these SMBs, these small to medium-sized businesses, these VSBs, these very small businesses with micro or macro budgets, and then those SOHOs, those small out-of-home office businesses, and understanding the critical importance of just online visibility and reputation management as two main tools to achieve those goals in building those meaningful new audiences through new consumer channels, and really accessing those consumer channels that they otherwise wouldn't even know existed. And then the other critical technique that we've really seen on trend is just them providing good customer service to build good brand affinity and repeat sales through that consumer network. So I think SMBs are more likely to spend on solutions right now that are really tried and true and tested, but also that provide reporting information back to show them tangible results and really to maintain accountability. So it's one thing for us as white label providers to work with partnerships, but if we don't have proof that we did our job and that we're working for them and we're able to scale these techniques out, then we're not really providing value, right? So we've also seen some major SMB adaptation during the COVID crisis, and pivots such as e-commerce layers put over small local businesses. So to put it into perspective, whether it's food ordering from restaurants or purchasing a hair dye kit from a local hair salon, it's supporting small businesses, and these business owners really had to roll up their sleeves and expand into more of an omnichannel strategy to thrive in this new ecosystem, thanks to COVID.
So great answers, all four of you. Thank you for kicking it off in such a great way. Michelle, how do you go about the process of identifying a good partner for Ruby?
Well, we do that a couple of different ways. I say first and foremost, we really listen to our customers and we listen to fellow Rubies that are talking to our customers. They're often the first ones to identify, hey, it would be really great if Ruby worked with this partner, or I have all of these colleagues that would be really interested in having a Ruby type service, and I'm a member of this organization. Can we get Ruby together with this bar association or this home service buyers group? I think those are the ones that are the easiest kind of layups, because we've got we've got an introduction, and we're able to start that conversation. But that's only half the battle. I think the other piece of what my team does a lot of is around that product marketing research, to understand what is the experience of our users and our customers, and where is it going to be beneficial for Ruby to play a fit. One of the things that we've been looking at specifically, some of our marketing partners that focus on helping small businesses market their solutions. And so maybe that is with campaigns, with phone number campaigns or web campaigns, and driving business to their small business customers. And Ruby's a great fit for that, because what they were finding is that they were driving all the demand, the small business was investing in marketing, and then they weren't answering the phone, or they weren't on their website to capture that chat. And so they weren't seeing that return on that investment. So it's a win-win-win when Ruby can answer those calls and answer those chats for that partner and for that small business customer, because it has that full loop from demand all the way through. So when we can find situations like that are a really good fit for both the way that we're working together and the solutions that we're providing for the small business customer, or even just fitting within their workflow. So we've got a really significant market share in industry of legal. And so we partner with some of the biggest practice management software solutions. So Ruby's capturing the call data, we put all of the information in, and then it flows seamlessly into basically the legal version of a CRM. And they're able to tag that, and it just kind of part of their workflow, which just makes it easier for those attorneys and small business customers.
So functionality, obviously key, that kind of connection. Kate, in your case, and you've been doing this for 8 or 9 months now, really, on NetSuite's behalf. What do you look for in partnerships, given the fact that you're going after a slightly different target, maybe, than someone who's in the industry?
Yeah. Well, this is a new program. We've been at it for about a year and a half. And actually, it's just kind of started to come to fruition in a really serious way. What is that quote? It's like, everyone's an overnight success after 10 years of slogging. So there's something about the baseline that goes into all of this. But that question is interesting to me too, because when I was thinking about that last night, it's like there are very specific indicators for me that will tell me ahead of time whether a partnership is likely to succeed and whether there's likely to be a there for us. And one of them has to do with the fact that we kind of divide our entry into the market into products and services. So that's kind of how we think about companies. You're either a products company or you're a services company. And then within those overarching macro columns, there are multiple micro verticals, right? So in products, I'm working with manufacturing groups and wholesale distribution groups and retail groups. And in services, I'm working with restaurants and consulting agencies and that kind of group. And one of the things I found as I engage partners and we talk about ways that Oracle NetSuite can get in front of their members in a serious and authentic way, is that when a partner has someone on their team that is tasked with being the technology lead or the technology advisor or the guide around technology for members, that makes all the difference. For example, one of my favorite partners that we work with is Nationwide Marketing Group. And they're an 8,000 member retail association of mom and pop shops across North America, composed mainly of furniture and appliance retailers. And we've had incredible success in working with that community. And it's largely because Nationwide has a person whose title is all about being the technology liaison for its members. So he is aware when any of the members are starting to shop for cloud financials and ERP, that he can make the introduction to us. So it's not like we're just kind of shooting off business cards in a crowded room of people not knowing who to talk to. It's much more specified. It's much more sort of red carpet, white glove. We're being introduced to the right companies, which is great as well, because then we don't irritate companies who aren't shopping, who aren't in the market. So I think that's a big indicator for me, is if there is a person who's tasked with technology on the partner end, and if the group we're talking to falls nicely in one of these micro verticals in either products or services.
Bailey, from your perspective, you're as you said, you're looking for partners that really have a great marketplace fit or a great network fit inside the alignable community of small businesses. What are some of, Kate mentioned, do they have a person who really is dedicated to this? What are some of the things that, as you're eyeballing prospective partners or those who want to be included kind of in the network, aside from really the need of the offering, what are some of the other things that you look for?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a lot of our partnership efforts are related to our marketplace right now and having some sort of solution to our members. So we have a lot of data that goes into who we seek for partners, and the way that we determine who we want to partner with is very targeted. So for example, we sent out a survey at the beginning of the year. What are business owners' top challenges? Those are the challenge categories that we are trying to find solutions partners for, and only partner with the best of the best solutions. So a little bit about how we do that is we send a survey to thousands of members to understand who are they using and how well is it being used. Lots of market research. I know, Michelle, you mentioned product market research. That's huge for us and a determining factor in who we go after. And member calls, and actually getting in the head of some of these business owners and having, just some fireside chats about why are they great products and should we partner with them. We also use a lot of data from the back end in regards to NPS scores from our ratings and reviews. And once we actually go after those partners, there's 3 things that I look for. They have to share a mission for helping small businesses and have a product, service, or following that supports that initiative. Because a lot of potential partners, they could say their offerings are focused towards SMBs, when in reality, it's to mid and large size businesses. So defining that upfront is super important, and even better, having data to back that for a potential partner makes it all the more better. And then understanding Alignable's value. So a partnership goes 2 ways, and that's huge for us when we are seeking out potential partners. So we strive to maintain dual partnership promotion throughout the duration of our partnerships. So they're supporting us just as much as we're supporting them is super key. And then the third thing I always look for is that dedicated person that is going to help with running the partnership. We want every partnership to be ongoing. And when you have one-off initiatives, it shows a lack of thought and value to Alignables members. So we want to ensure that our partners with a product or a service that we're offering long-term educational or solution value to our members. So those are the three key things. And if a partner doesn't have that, it's a bit of a turnoff because you want to have an ongoing partnership.
That's a great recap. And it kind of tees up my question for you, Kelly, which is arguably your 2,500 white label partners are exactly that. They're partners. And you've been to the dance many, many times and trying to assess, is this a good fit? What are some of the logistical things that you look for in a partnership to really kind of grade, this is going to be terrific, or this is going to be a lot of work?
Yeah, you usually know early on, and we have a couple of, qualifying questions. And I think just standard principles that we live by, where if that prospective partner doesn't meet those criteria, we pretty much disqualify them as being a good partner candidate. And we do work in 3 different partnership buckets. So we do sell to, where we sell directly to a partner and we enable them with a full white label. We cross-train them in every possible aspect. Then we have a sell through, which is more of an automated fashion. If they have an SMB customer base, we deploy all marketing and support them in sell through. And then sell with, which is more of an enterprise strategy where they have big brands that they work with, right? So it's not really applicable to this conversation. But when we build those partnerships with our reseller or white label partners, we're really positioning a business model, which is very important that we define that right now. We act as the consultants for them around best practices, go-to-market strategy, packaging, pricing, industry positioning, marketing messaging. We white label everything for them. They take it to market and they do QA testing. So not only does it require fit, it's extensive training, it's ongoing education. It's not a set it and forget it model, and alignment with their goals and their brand and their actual brand. So in order to continually condition this and understand what additional education they need to be successful or support methodologies or anything like that, we'll continually survey our existing partners on an ongoing basis, and we solicit feedback in our quarterly business reviews. We're constantly assessing our NPS scores as well. We have a product and service feedback loop, which are all interconnected to our customer ops team, our ecosystem team, and our product managers. And this really allows us at scale, we're a 500-person company now, to really stay consistent and connected, and to constantly just innovate to meet those ever-changing needs of our partners as well as their clients. And the biggest recommendation I have though too is we align our team leads with the team leads of our partners to cross-train them. So we allow them to be holistically and completely self-sufficient. Our customer ops team is training their customer ops team. They take care of everything. We do all of the heavy lifting in the back end, but they get all of the credit with the client and all of the glory, and they own the billing relationship. So it's really a win-win.
That's awesome. I mean, each of you guys are approaching this in different ways with different targets. There's so much to learn from each of you. This appropriately could go on for a couple of hours. But Kate, I want to bring this back to you, and each of you in turn kind of answer this question. You offered up the example of the marketing association that you've been working with. Take us through kind of step by step from introduction all the way to kind of finished product. What did you do to make that partnership so successful? What were the steps you took?
Yeah, I like a question like this because it's real, it's tactical, it's tangible. It's okay. So Michelle mentioned something earlier that I want to impress, because it makes or breaks often for me as well, is a warm introduction. There's nothing like, someone who you trust introducing you to someone else, and suddenly you are or when you receive an introduction from a trusted person, whoever they're introducing you to comes under this halo of trust, right? So you're extending whatever you feel about this person or this company to whomever they've connected you with. And we benefit from that a lot. So a lot of our early conversations are brought to us from current customers of NetSuite who say, I'm part of this association or buying group, and I think you guys would have incredible inroads. Let me carry this on. But in the case of Nationwide, they are a NetSuite customer themselves. So it started with them understanding the power of the platform, realizing that it could be something interesting for their members, and approaching us. And actually, it came through our advisory and selection firm team. They brought it to me and said, we're having a conversation with Nationwide, but it doesn't seem like the right fit for us. It might be the right fit for your type of engagement. And I would say those first few calls, and I imagine this is true of all of us, it's a mistake to walk into a partnership with the sort of vendor mentality of how do we capitalize on this as soon as possible? How does this become dollar signs as soon as possible? We're dealing with human beings. And I think at the core of all of us is we need to establish some kind of trust with someone before we're going to divulge information or engage in anything long-term. But B, we like to work with people we like fundamentally. And so there's something about taking the time to create common ground with a partner. And that's what we did with Nationwide. We sat on several, and I would say, when I say several, probably 3 or 4 early conversations where it was learning about the Nationwide community, who are their members, us sharing not only what does NetSuite do, which they kind of knew already, but in what ways can we deploy at scale to a membership base that's large and has pretty specific needs. And from there, we started talking about what we can offer them. So before we said, let's buy a booth at your upcoming event or anything like that, it was a conversation about discounting. So that's really where I like to start with early on, because I want to ensure that I'm giving before I'm asking for anything in the context of this partnership. So I walk in with we'd like to make sure NetSuite is available to your members. We'd like to do so at an aggressive discount. And we'd like this to be something that your members associate with their role as a member in your association. So this is an added benefit. And we're bringing this to the table because we know that deal cadence will be accelerated if we're talking to multiple members of an association at one time, rather than one after the other. So they like that conversation about discounting, and we were able to sign a preferred pricing agreement for them early on, which allowed us to start conversations with their members, which also puts us in good footing, because the first part of the conversation is, well, whatever you decide, if you decide to go with us or a competitor, you get an aggressive discount on NetSuite because you're a member of this association. And I think that also helps to engender, again, a sense of trust and a sense of goodwill. And so from then on, we participate and contribute actively to the community. I think it's a problem if a company pitches up once a year at an annual meeting, pays for a booth, passes out business cards, and then never shows up again. We're not interested in those kinds of relationships. We want to be there at regional meetings and multiple times throughout the year. I have almost weekly calls with my contact at Nationwide. I know about his family and what they're dealing with and what they were doing for holidays. So it's not just a transactional sort of, we'll give you money, we get a booth, we get in front of your members. It's much more, the question I sit with is, how can I contribute actively to this community so that they trust us, so that they see us as a trusted technology partner, and so that we can add value. And I think if you get all of that right, the business case starts to fill itself out. Deals start to manifest. Things start to happen that you want to happen, because it's kind of the final stage of a virtuous cycle.
That's a great layout of your playbook. Michelle, not to put you on the spot, but think of a partner, of late, and similar question. What was the journey like? What were the steps that went in the journey to really create that successful partnership?
Yeah, I think, as Kate mentioned, like, the human connection is really important. And I was giggling because I was just thinking there's several partners that I have, or that my team members have, that we know that personal information. In fact, one of our partners reached out to me when somebody on my team was having like dental surgery and wanted to send her flowers personally. Like that kind of relationship building is paramount. I think for Ruby, there's a couple different types of partnerships that we engage with, but I'll use a different example than one that Kate had referenced, in terms of, this is a partner that we're considering for an integration down the road. And first and foremost, we want to validate that, like, we think our stories fit. Like, let's get in front of it. Let's really dig in and like talk about, who are we trying to serve? What problems are we trying to solve? And are our businesses at the core aligned on our commitment to the small business community? And if so, then let's start to test that. Let's like validate some of our research, so by starting to talk to some mutual customers. And increasingly, as Ruby has grown, there's often some customer overlap between a lot of we're partners that we're talking about. So once we start to do that, and then potentially start to tell that story through co-marketing, and we will definitely this crawl, walk, run approach, because once we start to get into like engineering time to build an integration, like we have to validate it, this is a good fit for both of us, and that it's going to be fruitful for both parties and for the small business community at large, which I mentioned earlier. I think the piece that we really want to make sure is that there is that commitment to each other and that commitment to what we're trying to do. And if we don't have a dedicated resource, I would echo that 1,000%. It's like pushing a rock uphill. Like, if they're not equally invested in trying to make something work, we would rather spend time with maybe a slightly smaller opportunity, but that we can go really deep with, and we can start to have those conversations. We can talk about referrals. Well, let's market your service to our network, and our network to our services to your network. Let's do a podcast together. Let's do a virtual lunch and learn and invite the community at large. And as we start to do that and test that out, and really like that story becomes a lot more cohesive, then we start to see the referrals start to flow. And then there's some actual, financial modeling that we can do. Okay, so if we can make this type of penetration, we've got the fancy spreadsheets as well. Like, this is what the contribution could be on both sides, this cadence, and this is the additional investment that this might take from. It could be a bigger joint event or activity that we're doing, so it's a bigger marketing research or marketing expense lift, or from an integration perspective. And increasingly, we're trying to think about, how can we really lead the market by doing something different that not everybody else is doing? So it's been a lot of fun, I think, over the past couple of years, as we're starting to accelerate. We've actually have folks on my team that are dedicated to prospecting, separate from account management of partnerships. And that's just kind of been a whole new world of kind of opening up what the potential is for Ruby and to be able to help the small business community.
Again, another great playbook. I appreciate you laying it out that way. Kelly, what are some of the deal breakers that come up? And I don't really mean the obvious ones. Yeah, they don't sell what we sell and those kinds of things. I really mean, what are the things that, as somebody who is very seasoned in the process of partnerships, what are the things you've learned along the way are really red flags or cautions, or things that just say, hey, full stop, this is not going to work?
Yeah, so we very much so, like everyone else in this call, we sort of lead through authenticity, and we consider our partners our friends, people that we would actually want to hang out with and spend time with. We know personal details about them. It's when someone doesn't really share in a forthcoming manner what the root of the issue is. If they're switching vendors and they're just treating us not as a consultancy, not as a trusted advisor, but as a very, I think, low level, non-tactical salesperson that just started out, right? And not really divulging all of the nitty gritty details to us. And it's a two-way street, as we were talking about, right? It's leading through authenticity, building thought leadership, educating them through the process, but also having them open up on their end and being able to have that trust factor there to tell you exactly what's wrong, and not doing it in a manipulative or dishonest way, whether it's to play you on price points or positioning in the industry. Those are complete deal breakers. In what I call a true partnership, that's where, we have clients right now actually in the Ukraine, and I messaged all of them to make sure they're okay. Like, I genuinely care about them. I think about them. We have QBRs with them, but it's more like catching up with old friends. We talk about deep issues like depression during COVID and real things. Being a person, it's not something that you can teach. You're either born with it or you're not. And you can always tell when there's a prospect that's just treating this as a straightforward transaction. This is not a transactional process. This is a business model. This is a complete alignment of companies. And if they do not contribute to the conversation in a meaningful way, telling you pain points, giving you an opportunity to make sure that once you get the switch business, you'll never do that. And you can prove to them in actions that they're not going to act like a past supplier or vendor that they consider a vendor instead of a partner. You're going to act as a partner, and you're going to back it up with actions. If they don't give you that opportunity and they're just treating it like a cold transactional process, that's not a good target for us. That's not a conversation that we want to continue with. And I will say about 25% of conversations that we go into, we actually take a look at it in the discovery process of, let's weed this one out. It's not a good fit for us. And expectation setting never aligns when you can't align on those principal details, where they're always going to be disappointed, right? You can't do enough for them. And customer service is one of the largest things that we take into consideration. But if they have also really unrelenting and just really illogical aspects of like a service level agreement that they expect, that's also not a good fit on our end.
Right. That's again a great checklist of run away when you see these things. Bailey, Alignable, from the top down, has an amazing culture. Always has an amazing culture. What role does finding a good cultural fit play in assessing a partnership?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dave. And it's so interesting because Alignable's unique value proposition is two different types of partnerships. Every day, there are thousands and thousands of partnerships being made between businesses on the platform. And so when it comes between each other, between like-minded businesses, and they're finding those unique fits just by networking with each other. From my standpoint of developing partnerships, we're trying to find businesses that supplement those partnerships and not replace. So what tools are there out there for our partnerships that are helping small businesses versus services that replace? So our focus is really on the partnerships that supplement. And when it comes to finding that fit for partners, we have a very friendly and fruitful type of messaging, and we want anyone that's going to be in a face of our event or with our co-branded content to have that same voice of reason to educate the small business owner. And so when it comes to language, messaging, to what that person is offering from a partnership standpoint is so critical for us. We want all of our events to be very conversational and all of our supplemental content to be very friendly, and the offering that our partners have to support our overarching mission of helping small businesses. And so those are really three things that we seek after from a cultural fit for all of our partners. And there's two ways that we go about partnerships. It's either we know that small businesses love this tool and we know we have to go after them because we want to offer our members additional educational value and support. But I love what you said, Kate, about there are, smaller businesses that maybe will spend more time with you on your partnership efforts and are more than willing to understand your business and understand Alignable. And those are the ones that end up flourishing more than some of these bigger brands because they have the dedication and they have the passion because they're growing just like your partner is trying to grow. So I think for us, it's a huge kind of personality fit. It's, does their product reflect the people that are promoting their product? And so those are really the key attributes that we look for when it comes to finding a personality fit for partners.
Great. Again, a great answer. Kelly kind of mentioned it. You mentioned it as well. I kind of want to unpack a little bit this notion that a partnership relationship is not transactional. And could you talk a little bit about what you mean specifically by that? What descriptors of being transactional do you mean? It is not this, it is not this, it is not that.
Yeah, I've spoken to a couple of associations in the last year who've said to me during our first call, yeah, I think, someone from your company came to one of our events several years ago, and then we never heard from them again. And that's no fault, it's not faulting my colleagues or the people at the time, but I think sometimes that's what companies do. They'll throw people at an event, see if it lands, see if anything works, see if any deals come forth out of that event. And if not, they never show up again. And I think that level of sort of taking, or that orientation of being a bit self-centered in your view of what success means, is something that people see through pretty quickly. And I think one of the things that is a value system of this program, Industry Partnerships at Oracle NetSuite, is that we are thoughtful about who we reach out to. We're thoughtful about the associations and buying groups we engage. We don't just fling invitations to anyone. We're conscious about who we're talking to. And once we establish some kind of rapport and some back and forth, this means we're entering into a relationship. It's the way that you behave when you are cultivating a new friendship or cultivating a new romantic relationship. There's a give and take, as was spoken about, I think, by Kelly earlier. And there's also this kind of understanding of the long game. And when you're looking at a relationship that you think is going to manifest over the next 5 to 10 years, you behave differently than if you are looking at a relationship that's just today or just for this event. And I think it encourages you to afford your partner some goodwill, and it affords you the opportunity to give people the benefit of the doubt. And we all have a bad day from time to time, and we all will respond to an email briskly or with brevity on a day because we're inundated. But if we have the long view, if we have a long-term understanding of this relationship, then we can see past those things. So what does transactional look like? It means showing up to an event without a high degree of engagement, personal engagement, and without investing a great deal of oneself, one's entire self. It means leaving without saying goodbye. It means failing to say thank you. It failing to recognize the work and the energy and the effort that people exerted in order to have you there and to welcome you. And being non-transactional, on the other hand, means, as we've kind of alluded to, investing in the relationship. I think someone else mentioned, knowing personal details about their partners. Every time I talk to Kathy Bretko, who's head of Independent Laboratory Distributors Association, we start the conversation by talking about her grandkids and what's happening with them and, what's going on in their lives. And that means that this is a friendship that transcends. And I think also Kelly mentioned, these are people you will spend time with because you choose to, because it's fun, because you enjoy them and you're getting something out of their personality. And then when it comes time to do a deal or to do business, it's just so much easier and more pleasant because there's all this other content and there's this additional foundation underscoring that business relationship that makes it feel more satisfying. It makes it more trusting and more safe. And ultimately, I think, we're not just here to work and pay taxes and then die. I mean, there's something about this that allows us to manifest who we are as human beings when we connect with other human beings. So I hope that answers the question, but there's definitely a difference.
It's an excellent answer, actually. I think exactly what I hoped you would say. I'm going to ask each of you this question in turn, starting with Kelly. And what I want you to do is kind of pull back a little bit and not necessarily contextualize this in your specific business. But when it comes to partnerships, what does success look like? Kelly, what does success look like?
Yeah, success looks like a multi-year partner, good friends. If you leave your company, they don't know what you're selling, but they want to talk to you. They don't know what you're doing. It might not be relative to what they're doing, but they want to reach out and make sure that they know where you went and what you're doing and what's up with you. A successful partnership is being able to not only sell what you're selling, but build that relationship and make sure that it's a success on both ends, that expectations were set appropriately and you can stand behind your product or your solution. You know that it works. You know that it's going to meet the goals because you aligned well with that partner ahead of time to make sure you knew what the collaborative flight plan was. And you usually find that validation early on. And good partnership is word of mouth referrals to other companies that might look like them, and long-standing relationships that last the test of time. Very simply put.
Awesome answer. Michelle, how about you? What does success look like?
All of that. And then I think definitely, especially with at Ruby and in the business that I'm in now with small businesses, making sure that we're helping support small business community. Like at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do. And whether that means that we're providing a combined solution that makes their lives easier or makes them more successful or makes them more profitable, that's going to be a success in our eyes. And then I think from a ROI perspective, obviously we want to make sure that we're both making money, or all three of us at the same time, right? So we have lead goals established or referral goals established, and if it's not that, if it's just a retention goals and stickiness between the services to make sure that those are helping, again, all the services small business customers, but those are the key like metrics that we also look at on our side.
Again, great build up on what Kelly said. Bailey, for you, what does success look like?
Yeah, I think Kelly and Michelle, you guys hit the nail on the head, but adding to that, understanding the purpose behind your partnership, both the short-term value and the long-term value. If you can differentiate between a partner that is going to solve for your members, your users, versus someone that's just going to supplement your efforts, that can really change the world, especially for small businesses. And two, for us, is it needs to be valuable. You need to provide some sort of value and not just sell to your audience. What is the education behind it? Who is going to be coming in from a high level standpoint to talk about these problems and how their solution or their product is actually solving the problem that your members or audience is seeking? So, how is that overarching bubble of solving integrated within each and every one of your partnerships is super key in my mind for success.
Again, another awesome answer. I'm sorry, Kate, that you go last because it's hard to find something really different to say, unique to say, but I think you'll be able to do it. I'm counting on you.
Yeah,
what does success look like?
I echo every syllable that's been said already, but several years ago, when I first started working at NetSuite, my boss at the time said to me, the indicator of success in this relationship is a member of this community standing up on a stage and talking about how much they love the product and how much it's helped to scale their business. So I would say, for me, it has everything to do with customer testimonials, referrals, warm regards, warm introductions. And then on the back end, Michelle mentioned this as well, like we all live in a world where this needs to manifest in economic terms or else we can't continue to do it. So, the other indicator, the lagging indicator of all of these early great indicators is ARR, is increased deal cadence in a given community or with a given partner.
Again, awesome answers. Let me put you guys on the spot a little bit here with my last question, and that is, you're speaking to an audience of your peers in the hundreds. 3/4 of them are VP level and above. They're all thinking not just practically, tactically what needs to get done today, but they're thinking strategically. And you guys obviously represent some incredibly important, good strategic opportunities for them. But flipping it around a little bit. because one of them might be actually listening. Who, if you had to say on your wish list, I really wish we could have a partnership with fill in the blank. Could you name one or two, three that we would really like to have a partnership with? Michelle, I'll start with you.
Alignable.
You're cheating, you're cheating.
I am cheating a little bit, but I mean, as we've been having these conversations, I've already started to think about how we could potentially work together. But outside of that, we do have some other, short lists. Service Titan is one that is interesting to us, especially in the home services space, the CRM worlds as well, and marketing agencies. But definitely these ladies will be hearing from me.
Excellent. Kate, how about you? Any ideal partners that you would, in the association and organization world, that you would love to have a relationship with?
Yeah, historically, we've worked a lot with associations, and more I'm starting to crack conversations with buying groups. And for anybody who knows about buying groups, you know that they are incredibly powerful in their ability to negotiate on behalf of their members, because that's their mandate. They're there to get aggressive discounts for their members, and I love that. So I want to work with iMark. I want to work with AD. I want to work with Net Plus Alliance. There's a short list of buying groups. If anybody listening to this is a member, please, send them our way, because I'd love to engage them, and I'd love to extend some really aggressive discounts to their members, and as well as participate in those communities. As we said earlier, there's something about entering those communities and contributing in the short term that manifests inevitably in the long term.
Awesome. Bailey, you have the world at your feet as far as prospective partners, but are there any that you think to yourself, wow, I really would love to have them as part of our community?
Yeah, it's a great question. And Michelle, I'm going to echo what you said, because each and every one of you will be hearing from me as well. That's why I love these events, because you connect with people and you understand what that value could be. From a partnership standpoint, Dave, I have many on my list, but a few that I think could, be of a higher level value is a better integrated partnership with the SBA. Lending is such a huge top of mind challenge for small businesses. And I see a huge partnership with them from an educational standpoint. We actually recently brought on a former director of the SBA, Victoria Guerra, and she's already provided an exponential amount of value to our users from all different government programming standpoints. And from a long term, I see a lot of value with potentially partnering more with the SBA. Going towards government too, even just the chambers, U.S. Chamber of Commerce, every community is looking for a central location to communicate. And by having some sort of partnership where they can all integrate their community and business members to collaborate and connect on one central platform could be so helpful from not only a community growth standpoint, but just from having that interface already readily available and flourishing. Many more ideas with that one. And then, we have a lot of challenges, but e-commerce has become such a big one for small businesses. How do you have an online presence? Where do you start? So I see something with Shopify down the line, helping educate businesses on how to start that process, especially ones that have been around for years and years and didn't feel the need to shift to e-commerce. So how can we really provide a step-by-step landscape on how to do so and the best locations to kick that off? So those are 3 out of probably hundreds that I have.
Those are good 3, man. Those are like, you're shooting for the moon. I love it. I love it. Kelly, I know your pipeline is absolutely enormous, and you work it hard every single day in building partnerships. But if you had to say a top 3 that you would love to have as partners in the Uberall world.
Yeah, not to be redundant, but I definitely want to have just a business development meeting with all of the people on this call. I think there's a lot we can do together. And Bailey, I have 2 recommendations off the bat for you. One is one of Dave Walker's friend, Carissa Reniger at Silver Linings. I think there's a lot that you could do together if you're not already doing it. And then Daryl Hively at Guarantee Digital. He does something called an earned growth program, where it's like it's a employee retention credit given by the government, fully funded growth program, where basically the solution pays for itself. The IRS gives you money back for each employee you've had for over a year. And I'll send you more information about that and connect you up. I already added all of you on LinkedIn. So definitely my TAM list is like 2,000 deep, but definitely want to connect with the ladies on this call. And my targets are really in ad tech, martech, fintech. Live chat is a platform that I've been wanting to chat with for quite a while. Michelle, let's connect up later. Thank you. And we've just landed a rather large deal. It's one of the largest global hosting companies, so I want to do more of that as well. And I think Alignable is obviously on that list too. So we should all talk later.
Awesome. You guys have been absolutely fantastic. I'll put the ask out here now that you all come to Napa in the middle of May. I know Kelly will be there, but I'd love you all to reproduce this in workshop form with a larger circle of your peers who do partnerships. I think what you've provided is a great framework to at least learn from each other. And it as clearly you guys have demonstrated, not only is it incredibly helpful, but it's also a lot of fun. And I think that you could represent a really great breakout workshop for those of your peers who really do think about partnerships, even at the highest level in our membership who are thinking about partnerships. So thank you so much for doing this. It's very well appreciated. And again, hopefully you'll be seen by hundreds of your peers next is it Tuesday that you run or Monday that we release? But it's check the agenda. You'll see the time of the release of this session, and I think it'll be well appreciated by the group. So going back around the horn the opposite way, Kate, thank you very, very much. Wonderful to have you here.
Thank you, Dave. And thank you for introducing me to my peers and colleagues in the space. I look forward to engaging with each of you in the future. And this has been an absolute delight. And yes, to Napa.
All right. Michelle, I know you're coming to Napa. I'm so excited about that. I think you guys, I know Kelly knows this. The Ruby team is one of the nicest group of people you'll ever meet in your entire life. It comes right down from the top from Kate Winkler. And so really glad to have you there as well. Thanks for doing this.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm excited to keep this conversation going and do it live.
And Bailey, I'm an Alignable fanboy, obviously. Thank you so much for doing this.
Well, thank you so much, Dave. Anytime we can take the opportunity to educate anyone on partnerships or small businesses, it's just a really great thing to do. And I hope to see more to it. And I'm echoing the Napa. I don't know who could say no to Napa, so.
Please don't. And Kelly, every time we talk, it's further proof that you're just one of the shining stars in this whole community. So appreciated what you do. Thanks for doing this.
Really appreciate you. Cannot wait for Napa. And just as a true testament to B2SMB and what's been established in Napa, we've yielded 4 really large scale partners from that conference over the last 2 years. So highly, highly recommend. Plus you have amazing wine and food.
Exactly. I was just doing the menus and the bar for it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you guys again very much for doing this.